The federal government of Nigeria has clarified that there were no discussions with foreign countries regarding the establishment of foreign military bases in the country. The Minister of Information, Mohammed Idris, made this known in a statement following concerns raised by northern leaders about the potential risk associated with such a move. In a letter dated May 3, 2023, addressed to President Bola Tinubu and the National Assembly leaders, the Northern Elders urged government to resist pressure from the U.S. and France. The letter highlighted concerns about lobbying efforts for defense agreements to station troops previously in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The Northern leaders expressed worry that such agreements could jeopardize Nigeria's defense and security. To discuss this, we're joined by Dr. Abimbola Oyarinu. He is a lecturer, Department of History and Diplomatic Studies, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye, Ogun State. Thank you for your time.
Now, thank you for having me.
Great. Now, let's talk about the potential implications for Nigeria's sovereignty and national security if foreign military bases were to be established within the country.
This has been a subject that most scholars and leaders have often deliberated on. Looking at the precedents, a layman will tell you in clear terms, no, military bases should not be situated here. Looking at countries where have housed military bases of great powers and what the result has been eventually. But from an international relations perspective, I would like to delve a little away from the popular opinion and say that history does not remember those who sit on the fence during critical times. History remember actors. And since 1960, our foreign policy position has been that of non-aligned. We have actually stayed away from great power politics in the international forum. And to what extent, to what benefit has that been for the country? David Ondeyin recently tweeted, responding to someone who invited great powers to make Nigeria a theater of international politics. David Ondeyin didn't have the best of words for the man he was addressing. But like I would always tell a layman, international relations is a professional job, and you allow professionals do their job. And as a professional, I would say that it is better to play this politics rather than stay on the fence. If you look at the history of countries that have developed recently, and going by Rostow's economic growth theory, in his second stage of development, which is the precondition for takeoff, he advocated that every country that wants to develop must have a mentor. And tell me any developed country today who does not have a mentor. So who is mentoring Nigeria? And if we continue to stay on the fence, how are we going to create or attract our great powers to take Nigeria's case seriously? You understand that we've been having challenges with terrorism, and most countries have refused to sell arms and ammunition to the country simply because we're isolated.
Well, talking about isolation, Dr. Oyarinu, I'm sorry to just come in here. I mean, you've said quite a number of things, but let's also look at Nigeria's foreign outlook when it comes to international affairs. Nigeria is part of the category of countries that refer to themselves as being neutral, non-aligned. And we know that once you have this military agreements, it makes you look a bit more aligned. So, for instance, you have a military base, from China, or military agreements in China, and then they set up a base or a lily pad, as it's called in some palaces. The outlook gives that, okay, maybe Nigeria is pro-China. If it's the U.S., Nigeria might be pro-U.S. If it's Russia, it's perceived that maybe Nigeria is pro-Russia. So, looking at Nigeria's international standing, particularly when it comes to, global ideology, and this kind of issue on the table, it puts the country at some sort of a dilemma.
Well, my question is, when we have stayed neutral, when we have remained non-aligned, what benefit has it brought to the country? You must understand that in currency, the currency of international politics is power. And to what extent has Nigeria curated power in the international system? In actual fact, foreign policy has never been an attractive area for politicians to win votes. But I tell you, any serious country that wants to develop, like Niccolo Machiavelli advised the prince, he said he should secure domestic politics and pursue international politics. Any country that wants to grow must play at the international arena. So my argument now is our non-aligned policy, what good has it brought us? So if something is not working, the ideal thing is to change it. Currently, the international system is experiencing a shakeup. How are we trying to position ourselves when the international system eventually settles? Power remains the currency of the international system, and we must curate power.
Now, following the perceived risk outlined by the Northern elders, what alternative strategies could the Nigerian government explore to strengthen its national defense?
My argument will be what the critical questions must be asked, and we must get the best deal for the country. There's nothing wrong with having a bilateral agreement that benefits the country, because a number of questions should be asked. First and foremost, what is Nigerian foreign policy on a subject like this? Secondly, what is the purpose of situating this base in the country? Thirdly, what are the terms of this bilateral agreement? Fourth, what does Nigeria stand to gain? What is Nigeria's interest in this deal, so to say? My position will be that, considering that the US and France are currently going through a challenge, it makes them vulnerable. It means that whatever we put on the table will most likely fly. It means that if we request that they support Nigeria in quelling the Boko Haram crisis, it means that they will be willing to look into it. So we must think in terms of interest, and we must think in terms of benefit. Look at how much the Boko Haram crisis and the bandits has cost Nigeria in terms of finances and in terms of economic activities. So my position would be that this kind of opportunity it rarely comes. It rarely comes. We must take advantage of that opportunity. The fears are not baseless. Yes, the fears are real. The challenges are real.
All right.
But it is what we do with the agreement that matters, not staying away from the agreement. I do not support.
All right, Dr. Abimbola Oyarinu, thank you once again for being on the news. Of course, a lecturer at Department of History and Diplomatic Studies at the Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoye in Ogun State. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me.